Okay, you're live. I'm recording at the time of the day when the lighting is terrible, but we'll see how it goes. Last week, I only wore 3 pairs, so I'm actually going to not talk about last week until I talk about week 3. I'm going to save those 3 until week 4 and just do them in this other order because I wore those 3 again this week, even if a couple of them more briefly. But I want to start with the substitution pair instead, just to get out of the way. So the 1 pair of the official 8 boots, not counting the waterproof and other alternates, was the Grant Stone Walnut Bison diesel boot. And I didn't wear those yet. But I did bring back in the Ariat. I don't know the official name of these, the rugged roughouts or something. I don't know what they're called. Because I didn't get the box with these. I looked them up, and if you look in the other video playlist, episode 234, I just call them Western riding boots, but the rough stock, is that the correct name? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so not a lot of new wear and tear on these. I wore these a couple days in a row for a couple hours each. These, of course, I had put the neoprene or something under the regular insoles to kind of tighten them up a little bit so I wasn't sliding around, so they fit much better now. So I did, they're not really walking shoes, but just to kind of give them a little bit of wear and tear. I used them just as casual walking shoes, just to, kind of get my feet used to them a little bit more, or get them to, flex a little bit more, that kind of thing. So the one you can really see on the vamp where it's, or the saddle, what do you call it? The stirrup. This bit. You can see a little bit of flex here and here. Whereas this one, maybe not as much there, a little bit more kind of here and here. And a little bit of scuffing. Can't really do anything about that. The heels wearing more or less. I have pretty normal pronation, nothing too extreme. So the outsoles won't show anything too egregious yet, with just a little bit of asphalt usage. But anyway, so there's those, got back in the rotation instead of the others. And then I kind of wore I started to wear these are the Oak Street Field Upland game boots or whatever. I did not wear them outdoors very long. I kind of went and got the mail and felt like I was sliding around in them too much still. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do about that. So I put them back on, I think the next day, to kind of read a book on the porch and do computer stuff for, a little while. And so they kind of got worn as kind of slippers more than boots, which is what I said I was going to do with them in the boot talk video or whatever last week or the week before. So I did already kind of talk about these and show them off in that previous video. So there's a tiny bit of creasing, but from where I had taken them out on longer walks last month, before the challenge began or whatever. So I don't know if I'm going to consider these part of the challenge now. They're kind of in limbo because, again, I don't really like the way that they fit as is, but the soles are still too new, the outsoles, so I don't have any reason to just, spend the money to get those changed out yet. I'll put an insole in them later and figure it out. When spring rolls around, I'm sure after this challenge, maybe I'll include them a lot more in the next challenge. But But yeah, right now for this challenge, I may or may not try to do that more. I don't know. We'll see. Kind of up in the air. So yeah, I'm not really showing them that much because, like I said, I've shown them in other videos and they've barely been worn, so there's not really a lot to go into there. So next, I guess we'll do these. I wore these briefly, very briefly today, but I did wear them more last week. This, of course, is the Wolverine 6-inch loader wedge sole mock toe. So these have been, they were part of a head-to-head challenge, again, for those of you who are new, with the Golden Fox 8-inch boots. I kind of declared a stalemate and decided to use these as more casual shoes instead of wearing those out just for the sake of wearing those out, because I already have other pairs of these. So I might as well just beat these up and not worry about it. And so that's what's been going on. I've been wearing them when I just want to grab shoe. This is kind of one of the grab shoes that's easy to lace up pretty quickly because it doesn't have a lot of now, if I wanted like a more of a work boot and that kind of thing, usually I do want a taller boot, but for a casual, just walking around the block and, you know, doing some yard work and kind of things, these have been fine. And so I've been using them a bit for that. Like I said, I threw them in the rotation last week. Today I wore them for maybe over an hour. I don't know. I'm not wearing them now because I'm doing video. So I took them off, but I was wearing these earlier today, which is why they got into the video. And I don't know if I'll wear these tomorrow or not. Maybe. So it won't be a big mystery. It'll most likely either be these or the Thorough Goods again, which instead of using these as the grab shoe, I've been using those as the grab shoe. But yesterday I used the other ones as the grab shoe. Like I said, I'll talk about it. So yeah, I've done a bunch of videos about this boot already. Like I said, part of the reason I'm doing this challenge is to try and use some of these less expensive things just to get through winter. So I had made a list of alternates in case we had a lot more wet weather, that sort of thing. Haven't really had that much wet weather, haven't really had that much chance to worry about it. But I had the other pair of Thursday boots with the waxed flash, which I pretty much already shelved to keep the wax from all kind of coming off, that sort of thing. Again, these just being an inexpensive kind of standby boot, you know, for like if I was going out dressing up to go to a restaurant or something, I would change out of these. Yeah. Not what I would wear. Whereas maybe the cowboy boots, maybe if I was going to that, like a steakhouse kind of thing, would be appropriate and look less like a work boot. So where are we? Wolverine. So yeah, so 2 weeks I did wear those. And I talked about that already. Like I said, the Ariat, not technically part of the challenge, but between the Oak Street and the Grant Stone, I guess I put in the description that the Grant Stone was getting bumped, but actually the Oak Street might get bumped. I don't know. We'll see how it, like I said, how I feel, where it goes, if I end up wearing the Grant Stone ones or not in the next month before the challenge runs out. But the Thorogood, again, these wore these last week, and I don't remember which week I wore the JKOT. I didn't bring those in here. I think it was the previous week. I think it was week 2, but they should get a mention because I might have worn them for a day in week 3, but I don't remember. Anyway, so honorable mention to them, but they are still part of the official list for the challenge, but they're pretty heavy duty. So once again, if the weather stays being sunny and warm, I would be wearing those less and wearing something like this more. So sorry I didn't bring those in, but they really don't show any real heavy wear and tear since the previous iteration or whatever the videos anyway. But like I said, if I throw them in more often, I will definitely include those. And when I do the final roundup, of course, I'll show all of them. So if they show any significant wear whatsoever, by then you'll see it if you tune in. But yeah, I forgot to bring those for this video, but I wore them for like 5 hours or something. So they're not going to show a ton of wear. Whereas these, I wore a bit more than that. The one label is peeling out of the one tongue. I showed that in the other video. This one's doing okay. They do have this kind of gusseted thing, so it's not a total floppy, but it is a kind of a thin tongue, and so the leather kind of bunches up at the top of the foot. So you have to kind of negotiate that. I have to pull these pretty tight, even though I didn't get the wide width, and they run kind of narrow. I still am lacing them up kind of tight. But then once I get in them, they're, you know, it hasn't been an issue. They're, like I said, you don't really need to break these in much. You can pretty much wear them out of the box, and they're pretty comfortable. And of course, in the boot talk video or whatever, I did show already, this tag is peeling pretty significantly, and this insole does have a bad spot. Can you see it? I don't know. It's there. There's kind of an indentation. Yeah, you can see it pretty good. I mean, it's not a great look, but the camera doesn't want to cooperate 100%. And then, of course, there's some fuzz from my socks. But so as I was saying in the previous video, I don't know how easy it is to get this exact model of insole from the same distributor, maybe. But I suspect it might be easier than getting the exact insole for the Ariat boot. I'm not sure what to say or do about that. But in the future, again, I might remove the wedge sole and replace it with more of a hiking sole, at which time maybe I'll get some of the internal components reconfigured and more leather and less foam. We'll see how it goes. But obviously that's quite a ways down the road. And all that. So yeah, so again, the bottoms don't show all that much wear. There's a little bit of dirt. They haven't been scuffed very significantly yet in a couple of weeks since I finally took these out of the box after, what, 3 long years or almost 3 years or something. So they do, yeah, you know, they do kind of have a more tumbled leather. You know, there's a pull-up kind of thing going on. This camera's showing it okay. There's a little bit of scuffing, you know, which is not the kind of aging you typically want. I don't know what you're expecting, but of course, I'm not exposing these to oil or auto mechanic kind of stuff or industrial kind of stuff. I'm using them, you know, strictly casually for kind of the sake of the channel and just to, again, wear as a casual shoe. So they're only getting put through their paces in pretty, you know, standard walking conditions. I'm not trying to take this on a hiking trail or anything. I would rather have, again, more of a, none of these has a hiking outsole. In fact, this month or this couple of weeks, is this another wedge sole? Again, almost the exact same wedge sole. Cowboy, but rubber instead of leather sole. So I'm not, if I was doing something more outdoorsy, none of these would be the correct boots. Even the upland game boots would still be the wrong outsole for my terrain. But so, yeah, you can see there's a little bit of kind of, you know, wear up around the rolled edge where, I don't know, the sock made it dirty-ish on the one more than the other. Everything else pretty, like, still pretty clean, pretty, not entirely pristine. You can see a little bit of creasing if the camera will cooperate. I have to be able to see what I'm showing, but also not have my face be getting all the focus. So it's kind of tricky. This one's creasing a little bit extra in places where I'm not. I don't know why it's got 2 creases instead of 1. I'm not as super happy about that, but what can you do? And then of course there's some rivet damage from the on the tongue from the speed hooks. Whoops, blurry. Okay. So yeah, you can see a little bit of rivet damage there, some scraping, scuffing, but again, nothing too serious yet. We'll see how long the tongue lasts with time. So thorough good, yes, thorough good. And so that yesterday, the boots, I did wear these last week. So this is one of the 3 pairs from last week. And it's Thursday President in the black coffee leather. And again, not showing a ton of wear and tear because these are pretty much straight out of the box too. I did wear them. Did I wear them in an earlier week? I don't even remember. I can go back to what week 2 update. Let's see. Thursday, Captain Black Coffee have not worn. Okay, so yeah, so last week was the first time I finally got these out of the box because I had worn the Captain boots and the Hero boots with the wax sole or waxed flesh instead of these. So these do have a different outsole, but still not really a hiking outsole. So again, more of a dress boot than a work boot or definitely not a hiking boot. But you can still wear them hiking, I guess, if it really felt like it. But I don't know. And of course, the camera does not want to cooperate. But you can see a little bit of scuffing, a little bit of distress. It's not a thick leather at all. The right one, when I first was wearing it, day 1 or day 2, this was really gouging in below my ankle on the right side and almost cutting the skin. So the next day, I don't remember that I wore these. I think I might just switch to another boot and then brought these back. I don't remember, but I wore these yesterday again. So they got in for today, for this week, even though I only wore them maybe half a day or less. It wasn't a full day yesterday in these, but I did wear them yesterday. So they do show a little bit of wear and tear. The tongue has some. The first day, these laces did not want to stay tied. They were really giving me grief. Now they're kind of getting used to me, I guess. And a little bit of, again, not the perfect line of the, I don't know, styrations or whatever you call it. It's not creasing exactly perfect, but it doesn't have the toe cap to kind of do that as much, containing it like the Captain boot does. And it does not have a stiffener, or maybe it does barely at the tippy toe, but I don't think so. So yeah, you don't have a lot of like super integrity there, but again, it's more of a dressy boot, so how it'll look in time, I don't know. So there's the right one more, and then back to the left one. So again, you can kind of see the oh, and then the heels. There's again almost no visible wear yet, barely. I mean, this. Speaking of the outsole, one of these had a nail. Yeah, this one where you can see it. I thought it was coming out. I tried to take a screwdriver and a hammer and kind of tap that in and inset it farther, and it just refused to cooperate. And this bit will wear faster before. Hopefully, you're grinding off too much of that. But so yeah, a couple of these nails could have been countersunk a little bit better. I had no real luck kind of pounding them in. I was kind of actually worried I was going to knock that one out by default if I made the hole too big with the. First I tried it with a nail, and the nail just kept sliding. So then I switched to the screwdriver, and that but then I didn't want to accidentally break the plastic part. It wasn't this exact screwdriver, but I didn't want to accidentally break that with the hammer, so I didn't want to go too robust. So whatever. If I lose a screw or two, this one you can see they're deeper for what it's worth. And this outsole does pretty well about not picking up debris from the street, but it still gets some. You can see a little bit of the scuffing and such more than maybe some of the kind of texture or color variation in the leather. You know, I don't know how they did that. If it's, you know, it's probably just like some kind of dye process or whatever. And again, it has a lining, the typical thin lining that they don't include in all the new models, or maybe they're not all new models, but all of the models. So this does still have the thin glove leather inside this to give it a little bit more integrity, but again, we're not talking about a super thick leather. This did not have a pull tab. It just has these kind of crappy stitches, I think. These stitches. Whereas the Hero boot, I removed the nylon pull tabs. This, I think, is just quality control, you know. But again, they're a $200 leather boot, so you know, however long they last, they last. I'll probably do a head-to-head comparison with the other color after I've worn these some more, just to show off the other President ones that I got in the red. I think it was just the Chrome XL brown, whatever that's otherwise called. Okay, so running right along. Okay, 20 minutes, kind of long, but almost done. So then the last, these I wore on, I think it was Sunday, and I was going to rotate. The reason I pulled out the Ariat ones was because I didn't want to wear these again until I did this video, and I didn't want to do the video prematurely on Monday, so I had to kind of wait. So I wanted to wear these. This is the NYX Packer MTO 10-inch Western mule skinner boots, or whatever you want to call them. So didn't wear these a ton like I planned. You can see a little bit of wear and tear on the heel cap. I might wear these again tomorrow now that I've done the video. See how it goes, or Saturday. Again, they're not going to show a ton of wear and tear since the last time I showed them in a video, because I wore them like once this week. Not yesterday, but Sunday. I think it was Sunday. But anyway, the reason I didn't want to keep wearing them is because this, when I got home from my walk, I saw a metal thing sticking out of the bottom of the back, and I thought maybe it was something I stepped on. But then the more I kind of poked at it, the more the rubber kind of moved, and I was able to kind of tweak it. And it's like a screw or something that's in there, so I don't know how that's going to be to walk on. I guess they covered that over with the heel cap. I don't know if that's something I need to complain about, but I can literally kind of pry it and see down the cavity. I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to, well, making the video blurry for starters, but I don't want to mess it up worse. But I don't know what it's going to be like to walk on that chunk of metal that's just embedded in there that apparently is part of the construction. This one doesn't seem to have it, but we'll see. I don't know if I lost a nail there. There seems to be a black hole on there that I can't tell if there's a nail in there still or not. I can see the nail in the other ones. I can see shiny in all the other holes. So I might have lost a nail. So I don't know what was going on there. That's standard operating procedure. You can see the stitches the stitching is not all worn out yet, but it's got a little bit of fraying. The new pair I got that I haven't worn yet of the Builder Pros with the mock toe, They did not include the bottom stitching, but it was also a honey outsole instead of this one, so it has the heavier lugs. But it's not because of the heavier lugs that they didn't do it, because I have their other boots that have the heavier lugs that do have the stitching. So again, I don't know what's going on with that. And again, this is the other shoe, but again, not a lot of wear and tear because I only wore them for a little bit before I got home and was like, what's going on with my heels? Because I wanted to check my outsoles to make sure I wasn't tracking anything in the house, and noticed this metal thing that was not as prominent as this. This is after I like pried it a bit, wondering, you know, if it was a thumbtack or something, and then realized, oh, that's like in the heel stack. So again, I don't know what is going to go on with that. So that was pair number, what, 6 for this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you count the Oak Street ones, which I kind of don't, but so 3 pairs for the first week and then 6 pairs for the second week. But sort of not wearing this one all that much, and not wearing, again, this one all that much, and not wearing this one too much yesterday, but wearing it slightly more last week already, so still getting a little bit of wear. And maybe I'll wear this one tomorrow, or maybe the Thorough Good, like I said. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, I know it's kind of just a whatever update on, you know, not the most exciting. Again, to show, I tried to mix it up and add more boots, but when you add more boots, you have less wear and tear. So as always, you know, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. You know, if they didn't show something you think I missed or whatever, you know, I'll try and include it in the next video or whatever. I already did a bunch of videos about clothing and other stuff. I did quite a few in January, actually. So I, you know, tried to take a break and give people some time to catch up on some of those other videos, and they haven't really bothered to watch them. So hopefully people watch this one and get interested, you know, and I'll put at the end, I always put the links to the other videos in the topic or whatever. So you can go back and find those. But again, the last one was episode 289, which was week 2. And so, yeah, so week 6 and week 8, maybe I'll do another one in there if there's something really, really needs to be discussed. We'll see how it goes. So, yeah, those are, like I said, I'm not going to do weekly updates for a challenge that's a little bit shorter, and for boots that aren't getting that much wear. I don't think it's necessary, but if there's a huge outcry, no, and next week they'll do a video, then fine. Well, you know, if a million people all of a sudden watch this, then of course, supply and demand. But okay, so yeah, I don't know what's going on in my videos this weekend. I'm debating a couple different things. I don't want to really do spoiler cat out of the bag or whatever if I try and change course on one thing, or just do another one that's kind of similar to those other ones. But it's only Thursday, so let me know.